Please don't hate me for showing evidence that contradicts your theories on Flat Earth. Please watch the whole video because you may think I've not covered something when I more than likely have. Thank you. Our true history.
Okay, we've got to the flat earth theory now, so you're wondering where I am on this. So if we all agree that space is gravity-less, in other words, there's a plane that you can do what they call the vomit comet, where it's actually weightlessness. So if we agree that above even the dome, if it is a flat earth, that there is weightlessness. Now, when you wring out water in space, it doesn't actually go flat, it goes into a ball, as you see there. So the next video I'm doing sort of explains possibly how Earth itself was created as a sphere, and how things stick to it, because water in space is ultra sticky, as you can see here. So watch the next video and it will make. So if we go along from the last video where I said the water turns into a sort of a round object. So Earth, we believe, has a molten core. We really only believe that because of the magnetic poles. But there's a theory out there that says actually our centre is a block of ice, and rocks would stick to that over billions of years. And now NASA's done an experiment, and that does actually happen with ice. The little rocks would attach itself to it. Now, at one point in our past, our Earth was a greater mass, but the size of the Earth wasn't any bigger than the mass itself. But if it was an ice core and the ice steamed up and overheated or heated up, it would break up continents, as we now know happened. And that would explain the size difference from then to now and why we still have water. One of the arguments that people say that there is a real sort of God that created the universe is because everything is perfectly working. The sun is going round and we're going round and we're not bashing into anything. So they say that's divine intervention, or that's been created like that. However, if you imagine the universe starting as a big bang, now just watch what happens with these balls. They go everywhere, but eventually, a billion years later, trillion years later, they all settle. So my argument is, in the universe, everything, yes, at the beginning was bashing into each other and everything else, doesn't mean there was some divine being specifically put in Earth exactly where it is to rotate, etc. It's just over a humongous amount of time, everything just settled down to a natural order. There's a thing called Bode's law, which basically says from the sun outwards, every planet should be twice the distance from the previous planet, which means there should have been a planet between Mars and Jupiter. Now, there's probably different names for it. One such name is Tiamat. Now, if this planet was really there, it could have smashed into Earth, because some scientists, not many, but some say that Earth was smashed into and part of it broke off and created the moon with the other planet. So, for example, Daniel Hurwitz used samples from meteorites from the moon and suggested that the isotopes and titanium and oxygen, etc., was created from Earth and this other planet. I'm just going to show you some more. There's a UFO there leaving Earth's atmosphere, and as you see, the Earth's got a slight curvature to it there. Ignore that, because I will cover the firmament later on. I've made my mind up on what it is. But as you see, the crafts there, you see lots of different crafts coming and going from Earth. Obviously my video is showing a video of it, so it's not great quality, but the firmament, basically, from what I understand, they say, people that say the flat Earth says that this firmament is a solid object, impenetrable. NASA's been lying to us since they sent rockets up. They've made fake claims that which now turn out to be possibly true, that there's nothing outside of this dome, and up here, well, outside of the dome, they say there's nothing, but of course nothing is something, and therefore it's space. So when they send a rocket up and they drop a pencil and it floats, that was just all made up by NASA way back, and they have to carry on making that lie now. But we know with our own vacuum chambers, etc., that there is such a thing as anti-gravity, and it would float. So it's a lot of aggro for NASA to have gone through to continuously lie right back then, and not just NASA but other countries, to lie and say that there's I don't know, I'm just struggling to comprehend their thoughts on this. To lie and say all this time, I would have, if I was lying to the people, I wouldn't have said, oh, you know, you drop a pencil and it's going to float. That's a lot of aggro to go through to lie. But also, like, for example, I've been told that the flat earthers believe with the dome that our GPS satellite signals that we get are actually on helium balloons. So instead of sitting up there in orbit, they're actually inside this dome on helium balloons, which we know there's wind that blows around and GPS needs to be accurate, and I don't know, just so anyway. So let's have a look what the information where these flat earthers get this from. So let's be honest, it goes all the way back to the Book of Enoch, because the Book of Enoch predates the Bible. So let's have a quick look now. So this is chapters from the Book of Enoch. I'll just read out a couple of bits. Now, if you, as I've said before, if you replace the word heaven with space, in other words, the space where Star Trek happens up there in space, the Bible and everything else makes so much more sense. So it says, I saw the four winds which bear the earth and the firmament of the space, which is space above. I'll just go back to this bit down here, because I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. Now we know angels is messengers, which is Anunnaki. So I saw the path of the Anunnaki, in other words, the route that they're taking. I saw that at the end of the firmament of the space above. I saw the end of the firmament of the space above. Now all that is really, let's be honest, is it's our ozone layer, and they came in rockets. They didn't come in anti-gravity machines, so they would have struggled to get through this our ozone layer. And I actually need your help on this one. So I've got a theory that no one else has ever mentioned, and you lovely smart people will let me know whether you think this idea is actually correct or not. So we're going back to the firmament. Now I think the firmament is just basically our atmosphere. So the Anunnaki came in their ships, and we know they're rocket ships because it says it in the Bible, basically, with the loud thunder and the fire behind, as opposed to anti-gravity. So when they hit our atmosphere, they started to burn up, obviously, because it's well, unless it's anti-gravity, you'll end up doing this kind of thing. Now their own planet obviously had dwindled in atmosphere, and we know that because they came here to mine for gold to spread in their atmosphere to help protect it. So they could quite easily leave their planet without having this atmosphere issue. But when they hit Earth, they wrote about how hard it was to try and get through. And of course, we've equated that now as an invisible dome over Earth, and then we've got people talking about hollow Earth, flat Earth. So, and also, when people watch rockets go up, like Elon Musk's, what do? Just watch it go up, hit the firmament and come back down? No, they watch it go up, up, up. You don't see it come back down, which means it's getting outside of our atmosphere, getting out into space. Now, Adam was taken up to Nibiru on a spaceship, and on his way in the ancient text, it describes him looking at Earth as a ball, as a round sphere. Now, if it was a flat Earth, they would have had to have gone directly up in order for him to look like a sphere. They couldn't have gone any other direction, otherwise they would have seen a gap or would have seen it's flat. And someone help me out. Am I missing something here? I had a pilot on my live chat the other day, and he said that he believes the Earth's flat. So I said, no problem at all. Just go in any direction in your plane, take a picture of it from the edge. And of course he didn't. But the point is, every time someone says it's flat Earth, I say, where's the edge? And they can't answer that. But now, to get around that, in my opinion, they've now come up with Norb's theory. So if you just watch this little video here, it basically shows that instead of there being a flat Earth, they've now added ice wall round one part, then another bit of Earth that no one can see, then another bit of Earth that no one's ever seen, and then they wrap it all up in a dome. So you've got that. Now, to me, it kind of seems like every time I ask for the edge of the Earth, they've now concocted, I might be wrong, but they've now concocted this whole new ice sheet thing, and then another land and another land. Of course, if no one's ever seen. So I'm just replying to this person about flat Earth. Now, flat earthers believe that this rim, is Antarctica, and it goes all the way around the planet, and it's an ice sheet that you can fly over, but they don't. So the argument is that NASA and Americans, military, stop anyone, no matter where they are on the 24,000 miles round. They somehow magically stop them on a boat or a plane to go off and over the edge. Now, my argument is, well, what happened when NASA wasn't around? What happens when the America wasn't the military might that it is now? Prior to that, there was people that Russians didn't get on with Americans, and Germany didn't get on with people. So all these other countries that could have quite easily bumped into the ice wall at any point, if you believe there's an ice wall. But no one's ever said that. Otherwise, we'd have maps showing this. So this was regarding me asking for the picture of the edge of a flat Earth, and this person saying that I keep saying the same thing, asking for the edge, but he's now saying to me, show me a picture of the planet. Now, we know NASA lie. I think everyone kind of agrees with that. So the problem there is when NASA lies, flat earthers, for example, believe that everything NASA says is a lie. So this person's asked him for a picture of the planet. Now, it's easier, wait for it, it's easier for anyone to go to the edge of a flat Earth than it is to go into space. There's 9 billion of us at the moment that could go to any edge. There's only a handful that can actually get into space. So stop asking people to go into space, because that's really difficult. But anyone can go to the edge. Anyone at all. Just grab a boat, plane, and you're there. But spaceships are harder to get. So please, show me the edge. Show me the money! Wait, this isn't another Flat Earth video. This is a video showing that Perry Reese, who people believe was one of the people that actually created the Flat Earth maps, and therefore what he done was correct, and therefore there's no globe. Now, Perry Reese was around from the 1400s to the 1500s and was a cartographer, which he made many maps. Now, keep that date in mind, because in 1492, this is the oldest known surviving globe of the Earth, in other words, round, not flat. Now, if we go here, round representations of the Earth go back to ancient Greece, which predates all of the maps that people talk about as being flat. So ancient Greece, thank you very much. We address this because I think this is a bit too stupid for people to even possibly believe, but people do. So they believe that because we've now got the technology to do green screen, that's how it was done back in the 50s. Obviously, we didn't have computers back then. So they're saying that because we can do green screen, that's how NASA does it all the time, and therefore there is no space. They just pretend that these objects float in space. Now, I do agree NASA lies, but also we've got the technology to make dinosaurs look real. Doesn't mean they're real right now. So in other words, just because we can do green screen now doesn't mean that's how it's done. So let's go back and imagine in the 50s, NASA contacting, in the Cold War era, ringing up Russia. Hey, Russia, we hear you're going to be sending up some rockets. Do us a favour. Pretend that there's no atmosphere up there. And the Russians would say, why? What benefit would that be? Well, we know you're going to be sending up rockets. We know you're going to hit the dome. Yes, we're going to hit the dome and it's going to cost us loads of money, but we're going to keep doing it because it's a bit of a giggle. No, all right, yes, it's going to hit the dome, but we forget the fact that it hits the dome, even though there's, between me and you, there's no dome. Firmament actually meant atmosphere if you go back to the proper original text. But anyway, so the Russians would then say, okay, but what benefit do we have pretending that there's weightlessness? And the NASA will say, well, there's no benefit really because normal people don't go into space, but it's a bit of a giggle. Okay, Russians say, we'll do that. We'll tell China and everyone to start using rope and string and cat wire to pretend that things are floating. That'll be good. Yes, good.
And then, lo and behold, later on, they have a thing called the Vomit Comet, which is a craft that actually produces weightlessness. So, NASA, that's a bit of luck. We kind of pretended there was no weight, no atmosphere up there, and everything was weightlessness. Now we've got a rocket or a plane that can produce weightlessness. So that was a bit of coincidence, isn't it, that we faked that? And anyway, then you have people saying that, like, this here is a rocket supposedly hitting the firmament, which again, if you go back to the ancient text, it's atmosphere, and Anunnaki struggled to get through the atmosphere. So basically this rocket malfunctioned and headed straight back towards Earth, and they say that hit the dome, whereas here, back in Apollo 11's time, people with telescopes could actually see it go further than the rocket that supposedly hit the thing. So is the dome all bumpy, in which case this got past that bit that one got past? You see, just please start using logic. Doesn't make sense for everyone around the world to start pretending that there's no weightlessness, there's weightlessness. It just, help, let me off this planet, please. The globe, let me off the globe.
Just a few simple questions. I can't answer them, but I'm sure you guys can. So first of all, if there's a dome, why are they sending rockets up? What's the benefit if they're going to waste money when it hits the top and breaks? Now, I have been told that someone said that they're trying to break free out the top. But why not do it to the side? That's a lot easier than it is sending rockets up. So that's the first question. Second question is, why advertise that you're sending up rockets to up in the sky if you're trying to do it quietly and we're not supposed to know there's a dome? So that's the second question, because obviously we've got people sending up rockets all the time. So why are they notifying us that they're sending it up to hit the dome? So answer that one. That's the second question. Halley's Comet is my favourite one that no one ever answers. So Halley's Comet comes around every 70 odd years. So if you can tell me who the person is every 70 years that sends Halley's Comet up inside the dome, because if it's outside the dome, then there's space. And of course there's people out there that say there's no such thing as space. And then they say there's water, but obviously we can see the trail of ice from Halley's Comet, in which case it's space still. So who's the person that sends it up and every 70 odd years? Because it's we know about Halley's Comet for thousands of years. There's actually a written record. So if you could answer that would be cool. And the final piece to the resistance one. Now this is a amateur, not NASA, amateur rocket up in America, which would be pretty much almost in the middle of your flat Earth. So let's have a look at this. Now, as you see, the camera shows equal distance, everybody. Not one side further than the other. And the reason for that is because it's on a ball. Now, this is another amateur rocket, this time in Australia, which is about 4,000 miles from the edge, but 20,000 miles from the other side. So in other words, it shouldn't be in the middle. And then when you watch, unfortunately, there we are, steady shot there. So it's equal, and you only get it equal if you're in a ball, on a ball. So if no one's ever going to answer that one, that's because you can't answer why it's equal, because obviously on a ball it's always going to be equal. So yeah, there you go. So no one's going to answer those. So let's all forget the flat Earth and the dome, and just get on with our lives. Right, don't hate me for this. This is Admiral Byrd, and I'm just going to point out where some sort of dome and flat earthers go. I know I shouldn't keep on about this, but it just really infuriates me that no one does their own research. So I'm here to help you guys, so you can thank me later. So this is Admiral Byrd. He's the person that they all quote when they say you're not allowed in Antarctica. So have a listen to this.
Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily.
Okay, so militarily, that's one reason why there's a treaty, not to mention the alien craft under the ice. But hey, that's one reason. So when you've got a military base there, you don't want anyone flying over. So hopefully that answers that question. It doesn't mean there's extra land or a dome.
But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole.
Beyond the pole. Now, what he's talking about there is the actual pole itself.
From Middle America.
So Middle America's below the Antarctica. So what he's talking about is there's more land. Basically, we know underneath here there was land and there is land. So in other words, when you pass the pole here, you keep going, you'll eventually get to a point where there's no ice, which means that there's land, and that's what he's talking about. It doesn't mean extra land, doesn't mean a dome or anything else. That's what it basically means. So that's what he's talking about. Quickly, to the people that say water should drop off a ball, obviously there's a force because Earth is so big that it's causing its own force to push inwards. Now, what people are a bit silly doing, they don't actually think that they need a control. They're doing these experiments where water will drop off of a ball in the place that's already there. So that's a bit stupid. So what you actually need is a control. In order to do the control, you would need to take your football and the water that you're going to put on it and take it outside of the place that you're actually doing the experiment in. Dumpties. So you need to do that outside, which would be in space. Speaking of space, here it says in Hebrew 11:4, it says the stars in heaven. We can see stars, which means we can also see heaven. Of course we can't see heaven. There's a translation. It should have been space. As the stars in heaven. So everybody, we can see heaven. No, we can't. We can see space. So when you start reading the word firmament, you should really be reading it as atmosphere, and it makes a lot more sense. But obviously people don't want to do that. They want to add everything else like I've just said and make an invisible dome that no one's ever seen, and they make it a flat earth that no one's ever seen. Something that no one's thought of, obviously, except me, is we're talking about the firmament here, which supposedly is this dome. Now, the dome actually goes back to even the time of Enoch. Now, Enoch lived in the Middle East, middle giving you a clue. So Enoch did not go to the side, he did not go to the other side. All he would have seen, even though we can't see it, is the dome at the top. So how the hell did he see the dome at the top from the Middle East? And everyone else that now has moved around the whole planet cannot see any of the dome whatsoever. And please don't say, oh, I saw a shimmering light and therefore it bounced off of the atmosphere, which is what the actual original word for firmament is. So to answer why Enoch could see a firmament and no one else can. Also, just for the people there that keep talking about NASA lying, they do lie. Let me explain something to you. They do and did do live streams, and they actually used to have to cut the live streams because they actually caught UFOs in the live streams. People would see the UFO flying around, so they ended up having to stop doing that live streams because guess what, because they didn't want to show. Now they did end up doing CGI. Now if they did CGI originally right from the beginning, why add UFOs into their live streams and then cut it when the UFO was flying around? Doesn't make sense. You see the logic there. And I mean, we're talking proper UFOs. We're not talking computer glitches. We're talking UFOs.
Do you know someone that believes the world is flat or even round? Well, now you can buy these novelty books which actually has questions in it that they can't answer. The books are designed for you to buy for someone else, and they will have to try and answer the question. So basically, they're going to struggle if they believe the world is flat, because there's questions in here that they won't be able to answer. But the same goes for the world is round. So there's 2 books that you can buy on Amazon, and you can watch their face when they're trying to explain the answers to some of these questions. Give the gift that keeps on giving when you watch their face as they try and answer some of these questions. So all you have to do is type in the world's gone flat or the world's gone round on Amazon or all good bookstores. Antarctica. If you believe there is more land past Antarctica, watch my pinned videos, and I've also got some fresh air I can sell you. However, military have been in Antarctica for a very long time, since the late 40s, and only recently are we being told that discoveries of various different creatures, fish, etc., have been found deep within the ice, living as a whole ecosystem. Now, if you know anything about the military, they will do whatever they can in order to win a war. And if that means keeping Antarctica secret because there's certain types of creatures that would be beneficial to medical, pharmaceutical, even
poisons and chemical warfare, etc. So here we're finally only being let known to us that there is a few things going on down there, but obviously there's a hell of a lot more that we'll never know. I was wrong. There is a dome over our flat Earth. And I know you're going to say there's 8 billion people that can't see the dome. How could Enoch, thousands of years ago, without a telescope in the Middle East, see a dome that we can't see? Well, that's because he's a cool dude, and let's just move on from that. So in the Bible here, it talks about when you look at the heavens, which we know should be a translation for space, you see the sun, moon, and stars because they're all in space. But they're not. They're actually inside the dome from my research now. But the problem I've got is outside the dome supposedly is water, according to other people. Now there's a comet that's called CO2023, which amateur astronomers will be able to see in June 2024. Now, if that's outside the dome in the water, then how does it propel itself? Because obviously friction. If it's inside the dome, then who's sent it on its merry way for us to see? And that means there's no atmosphere here for weightlessness. I have to apologise to people about my last video that believed that I actually was genuine when I said I believe there's a dome firmament over the Earth. I don't. There was a couple of joke type things in the last video, but some people didn't quite grasp what I was trying to get at. So if you go by the original tablets, you'll find that the stratosphere here, between our atmosphere and space, is what the firmament really is. And they called it heavens, or heaven up here, space. That's the translation error. Now, also in my previous video, I mentioned Enoch could see the dome, and yet 8 billion of us, no matter how much I look up in the sky, I still can't see it. And that's because a lot of these actually went up into heaven, space, or with the Anunnaki, including Adam, out of Adam and Eve. And we've got the translations here in the Oxford University, as well as other words for firmament or other mentions of firmament. So that's why I don't believe there's a dome, because it's just the atmosphere. Have you seen a comet? Well, this person will tell you you're a liar if you say you have. And that's because this person believes there's no such thing as space and that there's an impenetrable dome over our planet called the firmament. Unfortunately, this person hasn't done any research whatsoever, because if they had, they would have worked out that the ancient texts that say Enoch and a handful of other people that saw the firmament, we can't, 9 billion of us now can't, but they could back then. But basically it was the atmosphere, the layer between the atmosphere and space. Now, I've seen Halley's Comet, so that's the reason why this person has said there's no such thing as comets, because I said, how does Halley's Comet travel if there's no such thing as space? Now, unfortunately, people don't bother going back to the original text of finding out what a comet and meteorite is. A comet was a dragon and a meteor was a demon. And if you don't believe me, you can go and do your own research or watch my videos and learn. I'd love it if you could watch to the end of the video and tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right, because I'm talking about aliens creating humans and I'm on about the Anunnaki. So let's just have a look here. Very simple. You can figure this one out yourself. Mars was the Roman god of war. Jupiter was the king of Roman gods. Saturn, you can get where I'm going with this, they're all planets. Neptune was the Roman god of sea. Neptune, Roman. Okay, so we only knew about Neptune in 1846. The Greeks knew about it way before. How did the Greeks know about Neptune, the planet, unless Enki, who was the god of water, Neptune being a water planet, Poseidon and Neptune being the same person as Enki? Because you cannot physically see Neptune with your own eye. So someone knew about all these planets. Do you agree with me? I hate debunking everyone. It's just I feel like nobody actually does any research anymore. So I'm just going to prove that the Encyclopedia Britannica is actually talking about, I'll let you have a guess, but this person believes it's a dome over the Earth.
Is to be featureless in character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees. And why does the encyclopedia tell you that there's a dome there, and it gives you the...
So you get the idea. However, unfortunately, if the person actually done any research, which is why people follow me, there's Britannica. A dome is classed as a mountain range, sometimes just a mountain that's geologically come up from the ground, normally with molten rock. So that's what the dome they're referring to, unfortunately. Just follow me, guys. It's a lot easier instead of listening to other people. This will make you laugh. So Flat Earth, I did a video which is pinned and no one's answered the simple point on there. You don't need math or anything. Go watch the pinned video that looks like this. So I thought we'd just go and look at what people's been saying on the comments, because it's really interesting to see how people are. Says Nico, says your video proves absolutely nothing. The Earth is flat and the Earth is hollow and stationary. And then I wrote, great, just tell me where Halley's Comet comes from and goes every 73 years. So far, no one has answered that. Can you? And obviously, they didn't answer it. And then other people said that Halley's Comet wasn't even real. Then someone's wrote here, you need to join the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord to talk about real Flat Earthers. And then I simply wrote, look, you know, I've done videos on it. No one can answer my questions. So what's the point of going somewhere else? And then I'm just trying to find ones that are funny. Here's one, Barry. He wrote, your way of proving round Earth is by showing a flat Earth map. And then I wrote, still waiting for someone to answer my point on that video, which is pinned. You can go and watch it. Someone wrote, how do you know your government set you astray our minds again? Again, just answer the question, then you can figure out whether or not my mind is astray or not. This is people talking about that. I'm just trying to find ones where I've replied. Love your content, by the way. Oh, thank you. My issue is that 60,000 miles per hour, planets spin in unison, and blah, blah, blah. And I wrote, it makes sense to me. Any experiments we do are within the gravity, but outside has its own rules. In other words, if you're going to start talking about spinning stuff, go get yourself a planet, have the same gravity, have the same mass, etc. Then come back to me and tell me that it doesn't do what you expect it to do. Just scrolling down, trying to find ones where I've replied to. The Earth is flat and stationary, and I wrote, yet no one has explained answer to my video. Basically, no one ever comes back. They just keep saying it's flat, it's flat. But as you see here, not one person's actually explained why it's flat. Just trying to scroll down. And someone's wrote, the firmament exists. Do you know where the word firmament comes from? I said, you'll say the Bible. No, it predates that. Watch my videos to learn. Of course, that person didn't reply because I'm right and they're not. I'm just watching the time here. Sorry, I'm just trying to find. You're going through the process that flat Earth has an edge, and I'm going by every picture that people make up for the flat Earth. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? How silly are we? When I look up at the stars at night, I thought they were actually real, but according to this person, he says that they're all CGI. Now, this person's religious because I've been chatting to him, so I know that. So I'm just going to quote something back to them because I like doing this. So this is from the Bible, New Version. And when you look up to the sky and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, that means that way back when the Bible was written, yes, someone had a little CGI, bit of fun up there with maybe a projector and stuff. But let's go further back than the Bible. Let's go back to the original texts that the Bible copied from. So the oldest known language whatsoever. And you see that there's stars there. So the Anunnaki weren't obviously adding CGI stars. So please don't, just maybe watch my videos instead of, I don't know where you're getting this kind of information from, that the stars are CGI, computer generated world. How can NASA stop Elon Musk from going to Mars and find out there's military already on Mars? Well, they have just declared it unsafe for humans, so that means they're going to stop Elon from going there, just like they've done with crop circles, where they paid people to make fake crop circles so that no one would actually work out that there's real crop circles. Same as what they've done with Venus, which is actually looks like Earth underneath the dust clouds, but they're not going to tell us that. And same as the back of the moon, where there's tall structures from alien crafts and alien buildings, etc. Of course, NASA's not going to tell us that, so they give out this particular picture here, which is probably either CGI or photoshopped. Same as the original tablets, original text for the Bible, they're now no longer available for people to read. So anyone with the terminology like UFOs and levitations, which they didn't have back then, would find out. I can't believe this person that follows me is trying to tell me that they know the ancient text. I asked this person for evidence of that ancient text. He couldn't give me any. So I thought I'd have a look at ChatGPT. And it says here, I asked, is there in the ancient text any mention of the earth being a globe or flat? And then it says there's different mentions. And then it says here that in ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamians, etc., they were convinced the earth is flat, a disc-like structure with the sky arched over a dome. The flat earth belief would present early Monday, blah, blah, blah. So then I wrote, I replied back to it saying, look, you wrote, and I went through about the dome, waters of chaos, etc., that it says there. And then I wrote, no, it wasn't. That's a modern interpretation in the firmament, which it is. Show me a text where it says that the world was a flat disk, which is what it said it did. However, it then said, you are correct. I apologise for the misinterpretation. So to the person that says it's ancient text, rocket hitting the dome, hitting the firmament, which really was just the gap between atmosphere and space, as said way back in ancient text, when the only people that's ever mentioned firmament could actually see the firmament, and that's because they went through it, because they were being taken up to heaven by the Anunnaki, and heaven being space. However, 8 billion of us now, all these people that seem to think there's a firmament, not one of us has seen it. Funny how only the people in Mesopotamia saw it. But let's forget that side of it. So this rocket here, I'm debating with this person saying, look, for a few centimeters it carries on past this dome that it hits. And this person's saying, no, it doesn't. Now, this is rocket travelling at 3,580 miles an hour at 73 miles up in the air. So let's have a look at a rocket that's going a lot slower than that when it hits an impenetrable object, in this case Earth. Obliterated. So now imagine this rocket, funny enough, only one of a kind, because last year there was 186 official documented launches into space. And obviously there's no rockets shown hitting the dome then. So this one's a few years back. So let's have a look now at disintegrating at 3,500 miles an hour. Ready? Ding! That's it. That was it. Obviously you're all laughing now. I know. Somehow this aluminium rocket, or whatever it's made of, is strongest material on this planet to survive 3,500 miles an hour hitting straight into an impenetrable dome. But let's forget that and then wonder why it carries on just being weightlessness. Right there, rocket engines are not going, it's weightlessness. Now you could say, well, it's actually coming back down to Earth and therefore it's just sitting there. Now for it to be weightlessness, you would need to be 125 miles and up, whereas this was only 73 miles. So the point is this really hitting a dome, or is it people being absolutely stupid on this planet and then people getting... no wonder why Bill Gates wants to wipe us all out. So are you telling me that when my car hits a wall, I need the same material that's built into this rocket? Because... if this rocket at 3,000 miles an hour hits an impenetrable dome and just goes ting, then I want some of that material. Come on, people, grow up. Oh, you're going to love this. So this is the rocket that supposedly hits a dome. There's only one rocket that hits a dome. And I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind, only because it's very simple and it's a very simple trick how they got round to make it look like it hit a dome, instead of actually smash it into billions of pieces. So I'm a video editor as well by trade, as well as many other things, man of many talents, probably master of none. So here is the actual footage. It says hitting the dome. Watch this, I'm going to show you something clever in a sec. So this is it, 3, 2, 1, and bang, suddenly it stops spinning very fast, and that's when they say it hits the dome. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of editing trick here. So that is it there, where I played it from. So it hits the dome. Let's go along. We're going to, just bear with me. We're just going to go past where it hits the dome and then slows down. So all I've done is now got rid of that spinny bit. Now, you remember it said 3, 2, 1. Now I've gone right back to when the actual thrusters were happening with that different text. So you're going to see a cut between there with that text and there fading out. So if you ignore the text and just watch the footage. Ready? Sorry, my computer went slower there, but I'll play it one more time. Sorry, my computer's slow. There you go. So you see what's happened here is they cut the video, and unfortunately they made people fall for it. Obviously we've got no other rockets hitting the dome except for this one. So when you realise that you can edit that in 2 seconds to make it look like, so basically they chopped out a period, maybe 45 seconds to a minute, they've chopped out, which would have slowed the rocket down into the less spinny, because obviously the thrust wasn't going anymore, and eventually it settles to a slower spin. So they've cut that out and made people fall for it. Obviously I didn't, because you should always follow outer history if you want the true history. So there you go. I'm just showing you, once again, there is no proof of a dome. It's just someone using a bit of their imagination on how to trick people. I hope that helps.